Good morning to one and all. My name is Sargam Bhatnagar, and I welcome you all on the second international conference of NPPA. So it's my pleasure to serve as a moderator for the present session. Now, let's set the stage for a thought-provoking session with insightful discussion and valuable takeaways. Without further ado, let me welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Ashish Pandey. Dr. Ashish Pandey is the professor with Shailesh J. Mehta School of Management, Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay, and a visiting professor at IIM Ahmedabad, where he teaches courses related to organization development, human resource management, self-management, and leadership. Professor Ashish is the management committee member of National Board of Accreditation and council member of Indian Council of Philosophical Research. Professor Ashish has designed and conducted more than 100 consulting and long-term training projects for the organization and leadership development across industries and for institutions of higher education in last 15 years. He has published more than 50 research articles in the field of yoga and positive psychology, spirituality at workplace, mindfulness, business and society interface, shared leadership, responsible leadership in globally reputed journals, including Journal of Management, Journal of Business Ethics, Personal Review, etc. He has co-edited the volume of Indigenous Indian Management published by Palgrave Macmillan. His research is recognized with awards and fellowships at forums held at Indian Academy of Management, Academy of Management USA, Fowler Center of Case Western University, Indian Institute of Science, etc. Dr. Ashish is the co-founder of IKS-based platform like www.dharmawiki.org and www.pankajkoshawellbeing.in. I would like to now introduce our esteemed chair, Professor Sonia Malik. Professor Sonia Malik is a professor in the psychology department at MDU Rohtak. She has an outstanding and illustrious career. Dr. Sonia Malik has a vast teaching experience spanning more than 3 decades at UG and PG level and has served in 3 different institutions. She is an avid reader and a passionate writer. Some of her issues of concern are psychosocial dynamics, psychology of individual difference, emotional intelligence, and women's attitude towards family planning and gerontology. She has presented many papers in various national and international conferences, workshops, and symposiums. She has also delivered many academic lectures on personality development, stress management, communication skills, time management, interview skills, and have organized workshops for participants in realizing their full potential and channelize their energy in the right direction. She is also an expert speaker at All India Radio Station Rohtak on various psychosocial and socially relevant issues. I would now request Professor Sonia Malik to lead us through the session. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Sargam. It's really my pleasure to be in this session and chairing this session. First of all, I welcome Professor Ashish Pandey. Good morning, and all my best wishes to all the participants who are participating in this event. And this just now we heard professor of great caliber like Manas Mandalji and Science of Happiness, and that is a really need of the day. We are working so much, and being a student of psychology or belonging to this discipline, our responsibility is much more, multiple times more as compared to other disciplines. How we can really create that type of atmosphere in our work, in your relationship, and all the sphere where we move, so that happiness, which we always call in literature that it is very elusive, how we can really grow right under our feet with all these so many researches are going on how to stay happy. Imagine, man has progressed so much, but at the end of the day, that life circle again comes. So कि हमें क्या चीज खुशी देती है, क्या हमें एक satisfaction देती है, so that we should move in that direction. But I welcome all the Nikita Nagpal. I can see Professor Ashish Pandey and all others who have joined this. So I would now request Professor Pandey to to start and really bless the audience with his prudence and his matlab, we are really eager, we are keen to hear what he has to say on this day. Professor Pandey.
Thanks very much, Professor Kohli, and a hearty compliment to Professor Kamlesh Singh and her team for setting up this association. And also, I had a privilege, and I'm looking forward to listening to other speakers as well. Privilege listening to Professor Mandal always. And really grateful to be part of this conversation. The topic of my talk is positive psychology, perspective, constructs, and practices from Yoga and Ayurveda. I would like to, before dwelling into the other aspects and some mechanisms related to the some mechanism which connects positive psychology and these practices. A very simple etymological analysis will be useful, since there's a conversation about the happiness. Happiness is not considered to be the goal of life in Yoga and Ayurveda. Swasthya is considered to be the goal of life in Ayurveda, and Kaivalya is the goal of life in Yoga. In that process, there has to be a pain, there can be struggle, there can be ups and downs, and it is all acceptable. The pain and if it is done to achieve swasthya and to achieve kaivalya, it is considered to be tapa, that is penance. So tapa, swadhyaya, ishwar pranidhan, these are the ways of attaining or yam or the ashtanga yoga. That is one distinction. So in yoga and Ayurveda, we do not pursue happiness. We pursue these two things. In general, in the Indian perspective, the goal of life is also not happiness. Goal of life is described in 4 purushartha, and dharma is certainly one of the purushartha. Kam and arth are the purushartha, but they have to be aligned and they need to be pursued according to the boundaries of dharma, according to the goals of dharma, which has a micro level as well as the macro level perspective. That is the second distinction. The third distinction from the perspective of from the Indian perspective, we need to distinguish between these 3 things: Sukh, Shanti, and Ananda. Sukh, the root word is kha, which is description of, which is the indicator of sense organs. So that which pleases the sense organ is Sukh. Shanti is actually experienced in man, which when the turbulence is less, when there is a shaman. So the word Shanti comes from the word shama, means turbulence is settled. That aspect of the mental state is Shanti. And Anand is our basic nature. So Indian perspective of the self is actually 5-layered aspect of Annamaya Kosh, Manomaya Kosh, Pranamaya Kosh, Vijnanamaya Kosh, and 5th is Anandamaya Kosh. So Anand is the very nature of the human being. It is not like something you have to pursue. It is the makeup. It is the aspect of the self. And when the self is realized, when the self is stabilized in self, then Anand is the natural outcome, because that is the natural aspect of the human self. So these are the distinctions. I thought these 3 will be useful before we dwell into the other aspects of this connection of yoga and positive psychology. Having said that, first of all, I would like to share one reference. Many of you might be aware of that. This reference is published in the same journal, in fact, in the same issue of the American psychologist, where the positive psychology was introduced. So we all know, we all are a student of positive psychology, so we know that the special issue was edited by Dr. Seligman and Chikan Mihai. And in the same issue, in response to the article, in response to that whole issue, there's a comment by Walsh. So first, Walsh indicated that all the about a dozen articles are contributed by the white male young people, white male European or American academics. So that is in a way kind of a reflection of the representation of the intellectual kind of range, the people who have contributed, and but that is, but to me, the less important point of the lesser important. The more important point he mentions is that, for example, Indian psychologies of Buddhism and yoga lack information on the nature and treatment of major psychopathology. However, they contain a wealth of information on exceptional psychological health, post-conventional transpersonal development, exceptional abilities, and the methods for cultivating them. And this is a whole note. This can be referred by the scholars. So this is the trigger point for our research. Though in the inaugural issue on positive psychology, there is a reference of yoga, but somehow this was not pursued. And if not Indian scholars, who will pursue this with that intention? We have undertaken the studies. That's what I'm going to share here. These are all a result of of working with some of the very bright, very committed and wise mentors like Professor Rajan Gupta, Professor Anand Paranjpe, Professor Kiran Kumar, and very bright young scholars like Ajinkya Navre, Chirag Dagar, and at least these two scholars' work I'm going to share here. Some of you have asked for the availability of some open online resources or course. So I thought it will be useful, anyone who is interested. We have an NPTEL course from IIT Bombay, Yoga and Positive Psychology for Managing Career and Life. It is offered on NPTEL. So naturally, it is part of Swayam platform, Swayam Prabha. And on the same platform, this is offered every semester. So every semester, this course is offered. About 6,000 to 8,000 students, 7,000 to 8,000 students register for this. The third round of offering of this course is over, is done. And we also have a portal which is developed with the support of HDFC Argo, that is panchakoshavellbeing.in. There, the assessment and interventions are based on the synthesis of the Western contemporary psychology knowledge and Indian wisdom and the practices related to the Indian wisdom. So that's why the name of this portal is panchakoshavellbeing.in. So these are the two resources for anyone who is interested in the field. Before we talk about why we have to, and it's a worthwhile to reflect on positive psychology from the perspective of Indian philosophy and Indian practices. This classification of framework given by Vladimir Tenko, he is a follower of Sri Aurobindo, the Integral Life Center. And if you look at the field of humanities, there is a confluence which can be actually he is able to trace back to the concept of the self in the Kenopanishad, uh, Nam and Roop, Chakshu, Shravya, Manas, uh, they constitute the Nam and Roop, and that the world is experienced with the combination of Brahma and Anna. So that is the metaphysical kind of basis he draw from the Kenopanishad. But the final and he looks at humanity from that perspective, and with the step-by-step process, if we look at different fields, it looks like there are fields in humanities which are related to self-knowledge, relational knowledge, and manifestation knowledge. These can be studied, and these can reflect on the subjective or objective aspect. So psychology is the self-knowledge, and generally it's studied. It dwells in the subjective aspect of self-knowledge. Philosophy, on other hand, the philosophy of mind, philosophy of research, etc., epistemology, ontology, metaphysics, they look at self-knowledge in an objective way. Relational, so linguistics, the subjective aspect of the relational knowledge, whereas sociology and history are the objectified or objective aspects of knowledge in the relational knowledge. And then there are manifestations. So manifestations are artistic approach, which is subjective manifestation arising from the subjectivity, and scientific approach, all the physics, chemistry, biology, math. These are the scientific approach, objective knowledge, which is the manifested form of knowledge. If so, this is like a first level classification. But if we look at deeper, we can actually study psychology in a philosophical way. We can study psychology in sociological way. We can study psychology through the linguistic, artistic approach, or scientific way. We can actually look at sociology in a psychological way, in a linguistic way. So at one level, these are distinct, but at another level, all these can these actually can inform each other, and in fact, they can be used as the lenses to look at and to understand. So from that perspective, we can look at positive psychology from the Indian philosophical perspective. I would like to share two examples where we could carry out conceptual work plus empirical work. One is related to the Ashtanga Yoga, the yoga-based practices. The whole study is about the Ashtanga Yoga and their practices. Only three practices, basically: asana, pranayam, pratyahara. Strictly speaking, though people sometimes confuse it with the with dhyan, but what we do in the form of samatha meditation or yoga nidra, this is more towards pratyahara than dhyan. So based on these three practices, we looked at what connects yoga-based practices with the positive psychology. And we propose there are two constructs in the existing literature: subjective vitality and self-transcendence. They are the connectors. So yoga has direct impact on subjective vitality and self-transcendence, and that can result into several positive psychological outcomes. So what we looked at in this study was psychological capital and altruistic behavior. In our other studies, we have also looked at flourishing and some other pathways to a scholar who has worked on some other pathways. The current scholar, Mr. Somyo, Somyo Datta is working on other positive psychological aspects like responsible decision making and some other pathways. So, in last few years, we have been examining what are the psychological pathways to which connects the yoga and yoga-based practice, yoga and the positive psychological outcomes. And these are a combination of two-stage research. First, we look at the model in general, does that operate? And then we conduct a longitudinal experiment to examine the variables which connect positive psychology and you, whether these variables can be manipulated, can be enhanced with the yogic practices, and in turn, it is hypothesized that it will impact the psychological impact, positive psychological aspect as well. And interestingly, we have actually theories available even in the contemporary science, energetic arousal theory, broaden and build theory, affective event theory, science of unity in human beings, and self-transcendence theory, which actually can be helpful in explaining that connection. I'm sure that looking at the Indian psychology and their interpretations, there is a significant scope of developing our own original theories, primarily arising from the insights on you. We thought that probably we can get the yogic perspective of the self-transcendence, and that can be a novel theory. But at the moment, we 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 couldn't reach there. I hope the young scholars who are watching this, they will feel excited, and they will make effort to make more original theoretical contribution based on the connection of the yoga and positive psychology. And towards the end, we can share some of the areas where that possibility exists, and you scholars can pursue some of that line of work. The second example of the yoga and positive psychological connect is from the Karma Yoga. So Karma Yoga is a different form of yoga, different from Ashtanga Yoga. And Karma Yoga is, first of all, it was defined. So that was a major work of contribution, conceptual work, drawn from the various shlokas. We looked at the 5 factors of Karma Yoga and developed a scale. We tested it in 3 different samples. And the typical process of the confirmatory factor analysis and the scale validation, scale reliability testing, validity, etc. That was done. And we also found in our supervisor reported outcomes at workplace in a bank that people who are practicing Karma Yoga, they actually showed low burnout, more thriving, more flourishing, more psychological capital. So this is the 2 forms of yoga which connects positive psychological outcome. And very naturally, many of you might be thinking that the third prominent yoga described, or third and fourth prominent yoga which are described by Swami Vivekananda based on Bhagavad Gita are Jnana Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So scholars can think about conceptualizing Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga first, because that will be the requirement, and then they can look at the different aspects of positive psychological outcomes. And I hope that by exploring, we may get some fundamental theoretical nuggets. If not the fine theory, we can get new concepts which can enrich, but also positive psychological literature. So that's an invitation. We need to look at the Indian worldview, because worldview determine the reality, and reality, the way we approach reality, result into different ways of handling that reality. So what is the conceptualization of relationship between humanity and the natural environment. What aspect of time should people primarily focus? The nature of human nature, good, bad, or mixture. What are the prime motivations? As I shared, in the Indian perspective, prime motivation is not happiness. The Indian perspective, the prime motivation is arth and moksha, and dharma and moksha. Arth and kam are the intermediaries. Tap is as important as sukh, probably more important. Tyag is perhaps more important than success, or success also in Indian perspective is defined in terms of tyag. The worldview can show very interesting insights about conceptualizing some of the things which we study in the positive psychology. This is the earliest picture of Bharat Mata, drawn by Abanindranath Tagore in 1905. This is a Bharat Mata. So I just thought it would be interesting to kind of put it up here. Nature of reality. So just to convey that the conceptualization of a nation can be very different in different cultures, and this is our conceptualization of. And there can be alternate as well, but this is most predominant kind of approach. It is a representation. It becomes a conveyor of our bhav about our country in this picture. The next thing I would like to focus on the Ayurveda. What Ayurveda says about positive psychology and the science of happiness. So in the Ayurveda, we come across 4 predominant references. I owe this insightful research to Dr. Deep Narayanji. Deep Narayanji is currently in the working with the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and very advanced research student set up by Tata, and then and he was the forest chief forester, conservator officer, I think, in the Rajasthan. And he kind of draw this, and based on his writings, we can we could distill these 4 factors: Tattva Bodh, Dharmya Kriya, Indriya Jaya, and Sukhayu Hitayu. These are 4, you can say, aspects or 4 pillars of Harsha or Ananda. The Harsh is the primary, you can say it's the precursor of Ananda, which is our true nature, which is our core nature. Tattva Bodh is actually knowledge, knowing the essence. Tattva is the essence. Bodh is knowing, but that knowing is not only cognitive knowing. That knowing is also at the emotional level, at the embodied form. So Tattva Bodh at physical, vital, and mental, if we follow the classification given by Sri Aurobindo, we can say Tattva Bodh is knowing at the physical, vital, and mental level. Physical is related to our mechanical and repetitive character. Vital includes our feeling, such as love, joy, sorrow, and thinking. The mental has aspects of the thinking. All these have like 3 levels as well, dynamic. So, physical is physical, but vital can be emotional vital, central vital, lower vital. So these are the different aspects of the cell. But the essence of this first point is that Tattva Bodh, knowing the essence of life at all levels, at all physical, mental, emotional level, that is the first pillar of Harsha. The second pillar is reflected. This pillar actually is reflected in the wisdom literature as well. If we look at the cognition literature, we may not get some of these elements. But if we look at the wisdom literature, we come across these terms like self-reflection, emotional regulation, pro-social behavior, decisiveness, spirituality, acceptance of uncertainty. So these are the kind of published in JAMA Psychiatry components of wisdom. Practical wisdom is the basis of the humanistic management theory, and it is a there is a renewed interest in the wisdom literature, particularly looking at the uh, uh, practical wisdom. Second aspect is Indriya Jaya, self-control. Uh, Experience of Sukha we cannot get if we do not have the self-control. That is, that looks paradoxical. How come self-control can be, but I'll share the contemporary research as well. It was mentioned in the Charak Samhita. Without self-regulation, we cannot experience harsh. Without having control on our senses, we cannot experience Anand. Actually, many times harsh and Anand is result of exercising self-control instead of letting go, letting ourselves fall in the process of seeking pleasure. So that's the second aspect, Indriya Jaya. And if you look at the positive psychology, the character strength has temperance. Character strength, as most of us must be aware that 24 character strengths identified by Seligman and his team, they are distilled based on the wide literature across the cultures. And Charak Samhita says Indriya Jaya, self-control, is the source of harsh. And temperance is also found to be the core character strength amongst the 24 character strengths. So patience, willpower, self-regulation are found to be important qualities in various aspects, various lifestyle related things. They are being studied in the context of eating, smoking, addiction, shoplifting, etc. What also it says that self-control during the first 1 or 2 decades of life are very strong predictors of income, saving behavior, financial security, occupational prestige, substance abuse, actually the lack of substance abuse, criminal conviction, and so on and so forth. So there's no such thing as too much of self-control. Outcome in remarkably, the predictive power of self-control is comparable to the either general intelligence or family association. So we have actually looked at this aspect that the cognitive, the self-control and mindfulness is what we looked at. Actually, can the impact of the self-control or lack of mind wandering is actually comparable to the difference in the cognitive ability, the positive difference in the cognitive ability. So I'm not going to describe that research, but these things are connected to each other. Does Indriya Jaya reduces happiness? Actually, it increases the life satisfaction. What yogic tradition says, that yogic tradition has 2 constructs, Pragya Parad and Ashtami Indriya Sanyog. Basically, being mindful when our man and senses are drawn by each other. When the man is taken away by the sense of pleasure-seeking behavior, pleasure-seeking tendency. And around this, a lot of positive psychological interventions can be designed. Third aspect of harsh is dharmya kriya. It is not dharmic kriya. It's a dharmya kriya. There's a difference between dharmya kriya and dharmic kriya. Dharmic kriya means it can be related to rituals, it can be related to performing our duties. Dharmya kriya means taking up those actions which takes us to realization of dharma, which takes us to realization of dharma in our life. And what is dharma? It is an internal and extrinsic harmony. Following dharma, it's a living and behaving in harmony with self, and it is in the context of self, related to context of the artha, related to the context of desires, and etc. Dharmya kriya. What happens in the dharmya kriya? By following this, when we follow the process of dharma in our relating with self, we realize that self is not limited to this body, and that is the kind of cognition I wish to research, and I intend to research rather. I will share only two shlokas here. One is very commonly used, and one is drawn from the Bhagavad Gita. Matravat paradaveshu paradaveshu loshtavat atmavat sarvabhuteshu ya pashyati sa pandita. That one who looks at self in all is actually the Pandit. Actually, the Pandit word comes from Panda Buddhi. The Panda is whiteness. If there is a whiteness in any cloth, even the small spot is reflected. If a small spot can be visible very, very easily. So that Buddhi, which can identify even the smallest deviation, that is the meaning of Pandit. What is the sign of Pandit? The one who looks at self in all. And then there is a Bhagavad Gita says that, and at so many places Bhagavad Gita says a similar thing in different words. Sarvabhutasatmanam sarvabhutani chatmani. Who see, the true yogis see everything in self and self in everything. So dharma kriya, when related to the self, when you follow dharma, it is not only self, it is all, because self gets expanded. There is a scope. The self-transcendence theory of Reed and colleagues captures some part of it, but there is a huge scope to extend this theory in light of this Indian wisdom. I will not describe this dharma, artha, kam, moksha. I have mentioned it so many times. If we look at the dharma kriya and the modern contemporary research, the first correlate we find is our favorite theory, the self-determination theory. Most of also talks about autonomy, competence. In our very extensive survey study, which we carried out in different parts of India, we also found that flourishing cases are explained more by self-direction, our ability to pursue what we value pursuing. So knowing our dharma and following it is found to be the biggest predictor of flourishing in our empirical study as well. Then there are colleagues, Elizabeth Dunn and her colleagues. They have worked on the relationship between money and happiness. They also found that there is a limitation to that. The set point theory. Set point theory, we know that it says that the happiness generally happens to be in a particular range. If something great happens in life, we move a little bit upward, and then after 3-4 months, we come back to our original, our line. But Germany collected this data very systematically, and when they observe the year-on-year data, there was a segment for whom the happiness scores were actually increasing. And when they trace back those those cases, they were more than average. Their involvement was the social connectedness, the sense of community and connection. These were very important aspects in their life. So that is the dharma kriya. And fourth aspect is sukhayu hitayu. If we look at the characteristic of the life, it can be dukhayu or hitayu, sukhayu hitayu. Sukha is for self, hit is for others. If we do hit, if we take care of others, sukh may be the natural outcome of our work. That's why Sukhayu, Hitayu are used as a Dvanda Samas kind of thing in the Charak Samhita. Professor, can you help me? How much time we are left with for this session?
We have 20 minutes too.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks. So we can actually compare the characteristic of
Hello.
yeah,
Sorry,
Professor
sorry,
Madhuri, you were
Professor
saying
Pandey.
something. You were on
I
mute.
would like some time for the question answer
Question
session and
answer
what
as
the
well. Certainly.
queries
Yes. Yeah.
all of us are having. Thank you. Thank you,
Certainly.
Professor Pandey.
Certainly. Thanks very much. So if we look at the characteristic of Sukhayu, Hitayu, we get the list of positive characteristics. That is a 24 character strength. This can be also referred as the characteristic of a good life. What is this? That is people whose body and mind are disease free, those who are endowed with youth, enthusiasm, strength, virility, reputation, manliness, courage, knowledge of arts and science. Some of these are not like exact translation. Bal, Veer, Yash, Paurush, Parakram, Gyan, Vigyan. What is the difference between Gyan and Vigyan? Gyan is our awareness. Vigyan is our awareness of the distinctions of the matter. How the Ashtadha Prakriti, five basic elements, Panch Tattva, Man, Buddhi, and Ahankar. These are the Ashtadha Buddhi described in the 7th chapter. Our ability to distinguish manifestations of nature based on the Ashtadha Prakriti, that is Vigyan. But underlying this Ashtadha Prakriti, there is a oneness, there is a integrated consciousness which is reflect what is being called para in the Bhagavad Gita. Knowing that is Gyan. Both are important. Gyan is important. Gyan is also important. Similarly, these are translated into Vidya and Avidya. And Ishopanishad says that those who only talk about Vidya, those who only talk about Avidya, they are in the darkness. But those who are in the only dwelling into the Vidya, they are even in the deeper darkness. So both are important. Indriya Jaya is important. So all the characteristics are given. And then, so these are the self characteristics. There is Sukhayu, but that can be realized in conjunction with the world. So Satya, Shama, Parikshan, Apramad, Seva, Puja, Sheel, Vriddhopased, taking care of elders, Arad, Advesh. These are some of the characteristics, and the whole list is given. These are in conjunction, that is Hitayu. So Hitayu, if we can, so the easier way is to start from the Hitayu, and then Sukhayu will naturally happen. If scholars are interested in another classification, they can look at the 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Devi Sampad and Ashri Sampad. There are 26 Devi Sampad which are comparable. They look similar, but they are not similar. They look similar to character strength, but there are some underlying differences, distinctions, which are the reflection of Indian wisdom. I will give only one example and then kind of share and quickly about the plausible kind of research areas. We all are familiar to the concept of psychological capital, hope, resilience, efficacy, and optimism. If you compare it with the Vivek Chudamani's, Tattva Chinta of Shankaracharya, who talks about Shad Sampatti, Sham, Dam, Uparati, Titiksha, Samadhan, Shraddha. These are the yogic correlates of, this is the Indian perspective. Only hope, only meaningful or flourishing, we can look at the Parma five components. only hope and uh, kind of efficacy are not the source of happiness and source of realizing the dharma. Since the objective of Indian perspective is not happiness, but to realize, to follow the dharma, and then realize the kaivalya or swasthya, depending on whichever the school of thought we are following. We need to have sham, control on our our mind, our dam, control on our senses. Until mind is controlled, senses cannot be controlled. That's why it comes in that order. Shraddha means having faith, having conviction in these words that, okay, we can actually follow this path and it will be good. So Shraddha and then Samadhan. Sometimes we may be successful, sometimes we may not be successful. It is pretty correlate. It can be, it has a closer correlation with Samadhan. So we can get into this comparison of the Indian construct with the existing construct. In that process, we can inform the Indian perspective and we can also enrich the contemporary perspective. So in nutshell, what are the areas of research which are left wide open for research? The one intervention which young scholars can or anyone can look at is role of aha, role of food, psychological. There is a body of knowledge which has looked at the role of aha on depression. So good body of knowledge is there. Actually, we can look at the role of ahar in the positive psychological outcome. That can be a very important ahar in terms of content, also in terms of the routine with which we take the ahar. And in the Ayurveda, there is a whole science of the Ritucharya and Dincharya. If you want to have very sophisticated research, you combine with ahar in light of, you look at ahar from the Ritucharya and Dincharya and can reach to much more sophisticated knowledge. Breathing. We know only very, in the contemporary knowledge, we have only few types of breathing for about which research is being done. Huberman's research on the 2 quick and 1 long breathe out, that's what they have researched upon. But yogic practices have multiple practices of the breathing exercise, and those can be looked at. We have included breathing exercises in our research, but there is a huge scope to look at only breathing exercises and its impact on different psychological outcomes. Level of cognition, Gyan, Vigyan, we just distinguished, we discussed that. But other than the Gyan, Vigyan, in the yoga, in the yogic literature, we come across the word pragya. Then we also come across buddhi. We come across word ritambhara pragya. These are more distilled forms of cognition. Cognition which includes dharmic perspective, that arises from the recognition of the interconnectedness of the different manifestations of nature in the world. That is another very important area for research, left wide open, and yoga and Ayurveda can inform immensely about. Interoception. Perception we all study, but interoception it is embodied knowing that is happening. That study and those studies are already being started, but then with the knowledge of yoga and Ayurveda, the much higher level of sophistication can be reached in this. Then comes the postures, right? How different postures can actually affect our psychological states. If somebody is having a kind of problem of anxiety, Veerbhadrasana may be helpful. Conceptually, theoretically, I have reason to believe so, but there is a scope, immense scope for empirical examination of these propositions, the posture. I will not describe Ritam. Ritam is basically the universal order, which is the essence of Dharma. And that is a whole new world of looking at the different aspects of well-being. So, and the connection of the yoga and positive Ayurveda on the positive psychology. So, with these words, I kind of conclude the talk. And if we have some time left, I will be happy to discuss more about some of the concepts which you might find interesting.
Thank you, Professor Ashish. I think my voice is audible.
Now,
Hello.
yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Prof. And you have really enlightened all of us regarding this all Indian context, and especially this dharam, adharam, ahar, breathing, because this is the need of the day. We don't know what to eat, when to eat, how to eat, and all these breathing. People have stopped learning the art of exact actual breathing, and this posture, rhythm, all of these things. I think these should be taught right from the beginning, isn't it, to the to our children, so that at least with these things, because these are the basic things, and then we can really grow to the higher one, upon cognitive level. And this um, dharam kriya in positive psychology, that was really the way you explained it, that was really very impressive. And you have connected it there, and you have highlighted the importance of in this only self-determination theory. And really I'm amused about this work of Elizabeth Dunn, relationship with money and happiness. We always ponder this question, can money buy the happiness? And we end up saying that if money was the reason for happiness only, every rich person would have been very, very happy. So these things really need to be pondered in today's scenario, how we can really make a balance, a homeostatus with our physical self, mental self, and our social environment where we are breathing. So, but before that, I would like the queries or any doubts or any further explanation, elucidation on part of Professor Ashish. So you all are invited to clarify this. Please, Sargam, you can ask the whosoever joined the session. Sargam
So,
Bhatnagar.
yes, there is one query by Bhavika. So,
Yeah.
she has asked to share some literature, names of books or research papers related to levels of cognition as in yoga perspective. So, she has
Level
Yeah.
of
posted a question.
cognition as a, pardon, there is some technical glitch. Few words are not audible. Could you,
Can
could
Yes,
you
sure,
repeat?
ma'am.
Ha.
Yes, ma'am. I'll repeat. Can you please share some literature, names of books or research papers related to levels of cognitions in as in yoga's perspective? So this is a query by Bhavika. She has posted in chat box.
Yeah.
Professor Ashish,
So,
please.
yeah. So, epistemology in the Indian philosophy, that can be a very good source. My favorite is, I keep going back to that, is Professor Yadunath Sinha's work on the Indian psychology, 2 volumes. So one is on the attitude, one is actually dedicated to the cognition. So you can refer that, and from there, many things can be opened up. We can also look at the learning aspects uh, related to in the Indian psychology. That three Upanishads talks about the learning. Uh, and Anandavalli also talks about the different levels of Anand. So these are some of the uh, core principles. So you can start actually with the Professor Yadunath Sinha's work on the Indian psychology, on the volume on cognition.
Yadunath Sinha. Any other, Sargam?
No, I think that is all, ma'am. That is the question that was posted. I cannot see any more questions, but still, if some of the attendees have any questions, they can
Yes.
please post that in the chat box.
Uh, when you are typing your questions, in case you are typing that, I can again remind you that there is an NPTEL course on the yoga and positive psychology. I'm sure everybody must be aware of the NPTEL course. These are free to register. Anybody can register. You can, if you are a student, you can get credit in your university by attending and completing this course. If you are a faculty member, that is counted as a FDP by AICT norms. So all these kind of things are available along with that code. So you can look at that, and many of these aspects are there. in that course, which are explained in more detail. Uh, and uh, and of course, the transcript and the PPT and everything is available on the NPTEL course, so you can get it from those.
Hope the attendees have taken a note of it. With this, we come to the end of our session, and I would like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to our keynote speaker, Professor Ashish Pandey, for sharing his invaluable insights and expertise. Your perspective has greatly enriched our understanding of yoga and Ayurveda with regards to positive psychology. A special appreciation to our esteemed chairperson for his smooth facilitation and guiding us throughout the session. Lastly, I want to thank the attentive audience for contributing to the depth and richness of the discussion. Thank you all for joining in, and please keep logged in as after 15 minutes break at 11:45, we will be having an interesting session by Dr. Mandeep Mahendru on the topic money and happiness. So please keep logged in, and the session will commence at 11:45 a.m.
Sargam,
Thank you
we
all.
still have 2-3 minutes. I would
Yes.
like to ask Professor Ashish. Professor
Yes, sure.
Ashish, just tell me that I'm also teaching this postgraduate students how to make yoga and use of Ayurveda. Very basic thing I'm asking. A household, matlab, it's a part of their life. They should breathe in. Matlab, that should be the wo. But we keep organizing camps, we keep organizing lectures, but still I find that our students of present generation, they are not very keen. They are aware about the health benefits of. I'm not. I always give credit to Baba Ramdev. At least he has made all this age-old, this centuries-old Patanjali a household name. Oh, that credit goes to him, of course. But still, how to motivate youngsters to daily practice yoga and make use of Ayurveda in their life? Because ultimately, I firmly believe um, pehla sukh nirogi kaya. You cannot attain anything in the absence of health. And health, as a student of psychology, we always say it is not the absence of disease, rather it is your physical, mental, social, emotional, environmental, every type of health. One has to be healthy. So could you please give us some tips?
I can only share what has worked in IIT Bombay with in our course, because there is actually a course on the which includes yoga based practices, mindfulness practices in the curriculum itself. So we have a course on
In your
relating with
in your IIM?
in the yes, in the IIT.
Hmm.
And I am of Ahmedabad as well as in
I
IIT
am
Bombay. So
Ahmedabad.
in IIT Bombay, I am a permanent faculty. I am also
Yeah,
visiting
yeah.
professor at IIM Ahmedabad. In IIT Bombay, in the MBA first year, we have a core course which is about relating with self and others. Uh, so in that course, the practice is done first, then the concept happens.
Hands-on
So
training, you mean to say that is
yeah,
given first?
yeah. So when the practice is the thing, when they experience the benefits in the practice, then other things become much easier. In IIM Ahmedabad also we found the same thing. Actually, in IIM Ahmedabad, the course has two components. One is related, the 7 hours of work is on, 7 sessions are on relating with self, and 7 are relating with the organization. So in the self, we conduct practice, and in the organizational component, we are not able to include the practice. And people generally, good number of people in the class, they say that why don't we do practice in these sessions as well? So there is a liking for the practice, because once they experience the benefits, then you don't have to convince. Second thing, which is very useful in continuing the practice, Patanjali says abhyas and vairagya. These are the two key component in pursuing the practice. In the modern time, the availability of community can also be very helpful. In IIT Bombay, what has been found to be very useful is setting up a yoga club. So we have set up a Yogastha club. That's an official club. At any given point of time, about 1,500 to 2,000 students and campus residents happen to be part of this club. And this club organizes regularly some activities. So this club organizes practice sessions as well as expert talks. For example, recently we have had Dr. Sadbir Singh Khalsa. He is very renowned researcher in the field of yoga. He is with the Harvard Medical School. And so like these, we keep organizing talks and keep conducting sessions, having regular practice sessions. This is how we were able to sustain some momentum and got some
That's
people
great.
interested.
That's really good. Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Professor Ashish.
Thanks very much.
And thanks everybody on the board.
Thank you, Professor Ashish, and thank you, Professor Sonia, for the insightful discussion. With this, we come to the end of the session, and we will be resuming at 11:45 sharp. So please be logged in.
Thanks, Sargam, for conducting this session so well.
Thank you, sir.